verse. Jame's interest in history began in childhood when every school vacation involved a family trip in the paneled station wagon to museums, presidential tombs, and historical monuments. Little did she know that history would become the foundation for an award-winning work of literature. Her first novel, Three Rivers Rising, a novel of the Johnston Flood, was the winner of the Penn New England Children's Book Caucus in 2008 Susan B. Bloom Discovery Award. It's set in the Allegheny Mountains in 1889. Three Rivers Rising features a cross-class romance during one of the most tragic events in U.S. history. It's my pleasure to welcome Jame Richards back to her alma mater, who is, as a person who exemplifies what our graduates can accomplish and where these new paths can lead. Jame Richards.
Thank you, Chancellor. Graduates, parents, families, faculty and staff, alumni, and friends, thank you for inviting and hosting me today. I have a rather shocking announcement to make. I'm glad you're all sitting down. In the back, you might want to brace yourselves. If you're near a loved one, grab a hand, take a deep breath. A middle-class, middle-aged housewife from Connecticut has published a children's book. I know. It's okay. There are defibrillators in the back if you need them. That's my nursing lingo. That's all I have for nursing. So it happened. I'm a walking cliche. And any writer worth their salt knows to avoid cliches. It's one of the first things I learned here in the professional writing program, and one of the first things I taught as a TA to freshman comp students. Now as an author, with my first book, Three Rivers Rising, on shelves and online, I'm sworn under the oath of writerhood to avoid cliches and to assist others in their pursuit of cliche-free living. How do you know if you're living a cliche? Well, when I was in 3rd grade, I asked my mother what she thought I'd be when I grew up. And she said, a writer. And I said, I don't want to be a writer. And she said, well, why'd you ask me then? So I said, okay, maybe I could be Judy Blume when I grow up. And she informed me that sadly that job was already taken. Now, if this were the kind of speech that had cliches in it, I might say that I needed to be the best Jame Richards I could be, and not the second best Judy Blume. But you won't get that from this speech. No seize the day, no road less traveled, no follow your bliss. Keep looking if you want that speech. So what do you think you want to be then, my mother asked. I want to be an artist and live in Paris and sleep in a garret, whatever that is. And wear a beret, she smiled knowingly. Of course wear a beret. Now, my mom was probably too nice to say, you don't want to do that, that's a cliche. But more importantly, it wasn't my dream. It was the dream of Jo March from Little Women. When I was a student here in the professional writing program, my first attempt at fiction was met with a lukewarm reception, and rightly so. The professor said that my punctuation was too perfect, too precise, and if I can paraphrase, too English majory. And I was stumped because, first of all, I had never been accused of being too perfect at anything. But more because I didn't know how to fix it. I was an English major. How could I be any different? I certainly wasn't going to write the equivalent of a lie by trying to be something I'm not. Even now, all these years later, I just keep on stubbornly being myself. Yet it wasn't the kind of criticism that would make you quit writing forever and walk to the edge of a cliff and throw off your typewriter, as Judy Blume did many years ago. Though lucky for us, she started again. But I reflected on that often. The comment, inscrutable though it was, spoke of something intrinsic, organic, at the essence of my writing, even if I didn't understand yet how. So I never forgot it. And the way it finally resolved itself in 2005 was with verse novels written in poetry form. And it might seem painfully obvious to all of you, but it certainly wasn't to me until then. to write the initial draft of Three Rivers Rising with no punctuation at all. Not even capitalizations except for proper names. And it felt dangerous, rebellious, revolutionary, the English major's version of chaos, entropy, and anarchy. So why was it so important? Well, it allowed the story to become the focus, to crystallize. The characters could shine, the emotion, the drama, and maybe even my love for language and the power of words could show through. But certainly not the nitpicky grammarian or finger-wagging proofreader behind the project. No one wants to curl up with a good book and a cup of tea on a rainy day and find themselves carried away to a world in which they muse. I'm not sure I agree with her use of the semicolon. And I'm still learning. In recent weeks, I heard it put so brilliantly by local children's author Janet Taylor Lyle in her World War II novel, The Art of Keeping Cool. Less perfection, more you-ness, Y-O-U-ness. Her character, a renowned abstract painter, speaks these words as he mentors a young artist devoted to rendering accurately every minute detail in his realistic drawings. Less perfection, more you-ness. Less punctuation, more unique voice and vision. Less fussiness, more Jame-ness. Although you have to fill in the blank with your own name. You can't use mine. You don't want to be a second best Jame Richards. You want to be a first best you. Think how many areas of life this applies to. My kids don't need me to be perfect. They need me to be awake and present. My friends don't need me to fix their problems. They need me to listen without judgment. My characters don't need me to wrestle them into submission all along the story arc. They need me to back off so those wonderful surprises can emerge from my subconscious. So in closing, I'd like to trot out one last cliche, one I like and use frequently, though maybe I shouldn't. Life is messy, and that's how it should be. Our lives are rough drafts. We fill blank pages every day with our words and deeds, our actions, the energy we project outward. Rough drafts are messy, disorganized, overfull. Little arrows pointing every which way. Maybe a little doodle in the corner. But the good news is we all have this great gift of revision. We can cross stuff out, move it around, change it, or scrap a whole section and start over. You can't do it wrong. And it isn't something you want to try to finish and get it over and done with. So keep filling those blank pages of your life with words and images and ideas that you love. Keep revising. Keep creating your art. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be you. Ultimately, your life is your art. Now get out there and create your masterpiece. Thank you.